Hey there, my name is Charlie and welcome to the video. I'm just going to be going over what we're going to be going over in this video. This review is not going to be your normal style review, it's just going to be more of a discussion video. There's going to be footage in the background of me playing Boneworks, showing off some of the mechanics as I just talk over it and explain what Boneworks is as a whole and why I think it's such a monumental step in VR. It's really a AAA experience in my opinion, and I'll explain why. This VR game is not for the faint of heart. Not that it's scary, it's very, very physics intensive, and it can make you motion sick very, very easily. It's recommended for quote-unquote expert VR users, but that doesn't mean skill level, it just means experience. So if you're not really a VR enthusiast, or this is definitely not a good entry-level VR game, it will make you motion sick if you have motion sickness. So with that, if you do get easily motion sick, I would not watch this video, because watching this footage back can be pretty hard. I try to keep my movements as fluid and smooth as possible, but it can still be pretty hard to watch if you have easy motion sickness. And I'm using a Oculus Quest with a link cable to play this on a gaming PC. You cannot play this on Oculus Quest as of 2020. I'm not sure if they'll release it on Oculus Quest, but you have to have a PC VR set up to play this game. And with that, let's get right into it. So welcome to Boneworks. This is basically the Magnum Opus of VR between the years of 2018 and 2020 in my opinion, and they've achieved something pretty great here. And I really just want to showcase everything that this game has to offer. I'm just going to talk about the artificial physics. I'm going to talk about the gameplay itself, the physics puzzles. I'm not going to show a lot of the physics puzzles because I want you guys to be able to experience it for yourself, whether that be watch a video series that's dedicated to it or play it for yourself. Hopefully play it for yourself, because I'd really like for other people to play this. So yeah. Firstly, let's talk about the plot, kind of like the beginning of the plot. I'm not going to talk about it a lot because there's not really much to it, but you are playing as a man named Director Ford, and he works for the company Monogon, and you are stuck inside of Monogon's VR facility, so you're playing a virtual reality game in a virtual reality environment within the game itself, so it's VRception basically. And then there are these Monogon employees who are sent to pretty much wipe out the whole facility because it's basically run down and corrupt by these null-bodied enemies, and they're basically just like orange, purple, blue, gridded people that are like zomboid NPCs that are made out of essentially just data. And you'll see some of those later that I'll show you. But that's the core of the plot. There's not really much to it. There are other employees from outside, or the outside world, that are trying to help you escape. But yeah, you'll see that later. But yeah, so I'm going to showcase right now the physics, how there is artificial weight. So you see I'm handling the sledgehammer. Definitely couldn't do that in real life very easily, but there's definitely some artificial weight there, as you can see. Pretty much 90% of the artificial weight is done for you. But that extra 10% you need to pantomime for it to really work properly, or it's not going to work out, because you can't pick up a barrel, as you can see with me messing around with this, like a barrel or a box or stuff like that, or a cinder block. You can't just pick that up like a piece of paper like you could in some VR games and just throw it across the world. It takes a lot to actually be able to pick it up. Not a lot, but it takes you pantomiming the movement. So essentially what they tell you is, think about the item itself being heavy, pick it up like that, and it's going to work perfectly, because they can only do so much for the artificial weight right now. All you can do is follow along with them and pantomime and kind of roleplay that aspect, and it works very well if you do that. It makes it very immersive. So right now what I'm showcasing is the pocket system. You can pull up the UI of the pocket system. You have two pistol holsters that can hold like knives or smaller guns and stuff. There are shoulder pockets and then a side pocket that you can use for heavier items, and the pistol can essentially go anywhere. And then on the middle of your belt, you have your ammo, and if say you drop a magazine and you don't pick it back up, that won't use your ammo. The only time you use ammo is when the bullet is being used and escaping an actual gun. So here are the actual pockets in use without the UI. You have your side pocket. There's only one side pocket, like the one I'm using right now, but you can access it through the left or right hip. So as you can see right now, I'm intentionally failing to put it into my side pocket because there are a lot of mess ups that you can do in glitches trying to get it into your side pocket where it just does not register. So you kind of have to slide it into yourself to get it into the pocket. But that's one of the minor defects this game has. But right here is a small display stand of the game's collectathon aspect, and I love this about the game. It gives so much replay value to it because everything about the game is fun to do if you really like VR and these VR environments. But going back and just collecting all the items makes it that much more fun to re-experience. So right now what I'm showing is a vending machine type machine that you can go through at the beginning of each level to buy certain items that'll help you, whether that be like a knife or an axe or a pistol or a better gun, but they cost ammo. So you don't have the ammo for it, you don't have the money for it. You don't want to spend all that ammo to buy it and then not have ammo to use later. So right now I'm buying one of the null grid NPCs to save for my sandbox, just to show you how it works. There's already one over there, but it's just to show you how it works. It's not expensive. So this is a reclamation bin. You throw items that you want to save for the sandbox in there, and then that saves it permanently. So you can throw melee weapons, firearms, NPC capsules. There are props capsules that have like, let's say like platforms or wooden crates and stuff like that. What I'm holding right now is a level capsule. And that saves a sandbox level for us to use later. That is the pretty much the essential sandbox level, the museum sandbox. That is used to see pretty much everything you saved over the game. And it shows pretty much all of the weapons, NPCs, and items that you've saved over the game in a small collection, mainly just weapons and NPCs, though. This is also another sandbox level that you can collect. That box I just broke was a special Boneworks box. You can find them in secret areas in games, or not in games, in levels. And that's how you find a lot of the special stuff. So right now, what I'm showing you is the museum sandbox. This has a big, like, playground type thing full of different props to use, and then this is the small collection of all the items you've collected. So I've only collected about half of the items that you can collect, mainly the weapons. Those firearms I'm pointing at right now, I put there myself because they're variants you can collect, but they don't spawn in the actual collection until you put them there yourself. There's a prop gun. But anyway, I'm going to just rattle off random stuff about the game as I've been doing while showing the different weapons and how they work and how their variants work comparatively. So right there is all the NPCs you can spawn. I haven't unlocked all of them. I need to go back and do that. I'm probably going to do that. But that's one of the NPCs that I can spawn. That's one of like the Zomboid grid NPCs. But that is the like Combine similar NPC. I don't have that unlocked yet, so I can't spawn it. But I will show a fight with them later. But yeah, so the firearms in this game are very, very similar to Pavlov, if you've heard of that. Pavlov, there's a Gun Club VR, I think that's what it's called. Very similar, but in my opinion, better because of how intricate they are, because it makes the combat very, very fluid and intuitive when you combine fairly realistic gunplay with very realistic movement. Because Pavlov is just ducking and shooting, but this game you can have a pistol and you can have a crowbar in one hand and pull yourself up onto a ledge and then hop up there and then shoot enemies from below, blah, 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 stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. And then there are a lot of different weapons that you can use as well. You can use weapons as blunt melee weapons, or firearms as blunt melee weapons. You can throw melee weapons. There's just a lot of possibilities. It's really, really great. But yeah, I'm not going to be showing a lot of the game at all besides some of the special levels like I'm showing right now. Because, again, like I said earlier, I want people to be able to experience it for themselves or go watch a video or video series that's dedicated to that itself. Because this isn't what this video is about. It's about talking about what this game has achieved. So, as you can see, all the models and all the animations and the interactive qualities you have with these weapons are very, very detailed, neat, intricate, and just overall satisfying to do. In that aspect, what those words I just said, neat, intricate, satisfying, intuitive, that goes into the whole game. Everything is like that. It just brings a smile to my face to be able to play a game like this but it also kind of breaks my heart because this is one of the only games, if not the only game out right now, that is this detailed and has this much heart and soul put into it. Not that other VR games aren't, but a lot of VR games are just 2 to 4 hour arcade experiences to kind of share with your friends. But this is for the VR enthusiast. And like I've said before, this game is for VR enthusiasts. People say VR experts. There's no expert in VR. It's just for people who don't get motion sick very easily, are super into VR, and have played other VR games before. This is not entry level. You play this game before you play another VR game, you're probably going to get sick. I actually got a little queasy looking at some of the footage that I recorded, so I'm putting a disclaimer at the beginning of the video to people who get motion sick easily, because it's seeing abnormal movement that you're not moving yourself. Like, for instance, my mother, I let her try VR for the first time when I first got my Oculus Quest, and she gets motion sick very easily, but because she was in VR and not moving herself, or she was moving herself, she was making the movements. Like, if she would watch me play a first-person game, it would make her sick, but because she's making the movements, it didn't make her sick. She was the one instigating every movement that she made, so it didn't make her sick. But actually watching the footage back and not making the movements yourself can make you a little sick, I've come to find out. So talking about the combat per se, the combat is not what you would expect. Well, it might be exactly what you expect, actually, because besides the Combine Soldier-like NPCs, the combat is not... It's intuitive on your end, but the enemies, they're not hard at all, because they are trying so hard to simulate real-life physics and really intuitive joint work that it almost goes back down to square one, in the way that it doesn't make them like run at you really physically and try and hit you with these intricate attacks similar to Blade and Sorcery or Gorn, where they have these attacks that they try to do to get to you. As you can see, it's just like a zombie. There's not much to it. It's not bad. It's still really fun, but that's what they had to sacrifice with making these super realistic physics and throwing it into pretty much every aspect of the game, and that still makes it great. It's still great. Everything about it is still super fun. But that's what makes, if you have like a lot of ammo and you have a gun, those enemies are nothing to you. That's why when the Combine-like NPCs come into play, that's what makes the firefights a lot of fun and can be challenging. So this right here is basically an NPC of you yourself, and I'm just showing off the different grabbing positions you can do with the enemies. There's so many different ways you could grab someone's leg and hit it or throw them up. But real quick, I'm just going to speed up and show how the joints work. So right now I'm going down to his knees and I'm essentially breaking them. And you can do this with their pretty much every joint they have. And if you break their neck, I'm pretty sure they die. But pretty much every joint they have, if you break it, they can't get up. They'll keep trying to replay their same animation, or their same animation, but they won't be able to get up. And it's a pretty intuitive thing that they did with that, and I really, really like it. It's not something that I noticed until later in the game, because I would just kill stuff and then they'd be dead. There's not really much room to see how it affects them, because obviously, like you can see here, you know, sometimes the enemies don't even die. If you hit them in the head, they'll just fall over for 20 seconds and then get back up. So they're very, very... It's like having pretty much every enemy on the lowest level of difficulty. And there are actually difficulty settings for this game, but I would just put it on the hardest difficulty, and it will not be hard at all, honestly, if you really want to delve into this game and have a good time. It might be hard with some of the enemies that have firearms, but enemies like this, there will be nothing to it. So as you can see, it's fairly realistic how, I'm going to slow-mo just showing you how the bullets penetrate enemies. The weight is very, very, very intuitive in the way that it is calibrated to take in bullets on impact, and that just makes it that much more satisfying to take down enemies and just to see how they receive it, because it's all about imagery, and it's all about how you receive the actions that you're doing, the interactions that you're doing with visuals and sound effects, and especially in slow-mo, it's really nice. So now we're going to showcase the combat. I'm going to hop into a level here, pretty non-discrete level. This is fairly early in the game, probably within the first 2 or 3 levels. I can't exactly remember, but this is a firefight with the enemies I was talking about. I couldn't spawn them, but I can just hop into a level real quick and show you how the combat works. I've got a standard M4, and we're just going for it. You can see there are ammo crates that you can slam down and grab ammo out of. It's pretty fun, pretty satisfying. The firefights to me never got boring. They got pretty different too. There were some times where you kind of wanted to take it on stealthily, which didn't really make sense for a VR game in my opinion. But it's not that it didn't make sense. It's that I was like, oh, I have that possibility to think about. In VR, you kind of just want to go in and swing because you don't really think about stealth. But there are situations where you actually might want to go about it stealthily. So now we're going into a secret area where it tells you not to go into because there's a lot of enemies, but of course we're going to do it anyway. That's what you do. That's what you do in video games. But there is a secret Boneworks box behind here that I'm going to show you guys. But there are a lot of secrets that you can access when you do what the game doesn't want you to do or tells you that they don't want you to do, but in fact they do want you to do it. Just always keep that mindset when you're playing this game, and you're going to have a good time. You're going to find some really cool stuff, and that's going to make the game that much more enjoyable and that much more long. It helps you just explore pretty much every inch of it because you want to. So now we're going to go towards the end of this, and I can see the Boneworks box in the distance. Going to take out that last enemy. And as you can see, slow-mo can make combat a lot more fun and a lot more satisfying. It feels like you're in a James Bond movie or Mission Impossible. It's a good time. There's that Boneworks box. We're going to go over there and slam her down. And all that work for a cylinder. Very cool. I would recommend saving that, even though you're probably never going to use it, but you always want to collect as much as you can. So now this is the redacted chamber, another sandbox level. I'm just going to showcase how some of the puzzles work and the climbing work. It's not going to be much, but again, I want you guys to experience it for yourself. So as you can see, you're supposed to weigh down the seesaw to be able to make it up here, but I am kind of cheesing the game in a way that I can climb onto the bars and push myself up. It looks a little weird, but you can do it. That's how a lot of these puzzles work. They want you to do it a certain way, but they also give you the opportunity to do it the way that you want to. So I'm going to show you how you're supposed to do it real quick by going over and grabbing this box in a second. I was going to attempt to climb to the other side, but then it didn't work because I fell, and then that's when I decided I'm just going to show you how to do it normally. Here we go. All right, we're going to pull that over, slam that down on the seesaw, and you're supposed to just walk over and then jump, but I didn't weigh it down enough, so I fell again. But that's how the puzzle wants you to do it. But I just wanted to show how pretty much every puzzle there's more than one way, if not more than 3 ways to solve it. It might be a really stupid way. You might finish it and think I was not supposed to do that, but it'll be more satisfying in that way, and it makes the game feel like it's yours more. It feels like the game is more attuned to how you want to play, and it just gives that much more possibility to be able to figure out things the way that you want. And that's what makes this game literally anything but linear. Some reviews, actually most reviews, say this game is linear, and yeah, it would be pretty linear if it weren't in VR, but it makes you take in this atmosphere as your own, and it makes you think about this world as a real world, not thinking that it's real per se, but thinking about it if it were real life, as in, oh, in other games, if you're not playing in VR, you can't just take a crowbar and go slam it onto a cliff and make yourself climb up. You can't do that. But in this, you can make it pretty much anything you want to be, and it's your world. So there you go. That was my little Boneworks ramble. Really just, I've played this game through twice now, and it's just so amazing to be able to see what Stressful Zero, the company that made this, was able to accomplish. It's just such a monumental step in VR. It gives you such freedom the way that you get to play around in these worlds. And one thing I forgot to mention is that a lot of the reviews that were given to this game said that the game was linear, and I mentioned that, but I didn't mention that this game is not meant to be non-VR. It would still be fairly fun if it wasn't in VR, but it is meant to be a VR experience. It's basically just a huge VR experiment, but they, instead of making it a sandbox template, they made it into a game with plot and story and levels and puzzles, and it's just such a great experience. I hope you guys all get to experience it for yourselves. This definitely, like I said, was not a in-depth and detailed organized review. It was just me discussing what I love about the game and a couple of the flaws. But yeah, if you guys want a more in-depth review, please let me know. If you want more VR content like this, please let me know. It's me just kind of talking with some friends. They told me, hey, you know, you love VR games and you kind of want to give you talk about it all the time, so why not you give your opinion to the internet? No one really wants to do that because you can't put your opinion on the internet, no. But here I am, so thank you for watching, and if you got this far, I really appreciate that, and see you next time.